Hello. Alright, there we go. Wow, I actually loaded the slowest. Alright, so in the top corner, we have in the blue the Terran player Walpurga. And at the bottom, in the red, we have our Zerg, Zonerkush. So, what is happening? We see that our blue Terran Walpurga is making the supply depot and walling off at 15 supply. Oh, double supply depot. Interesting. Now, generally, this early into the game, you don't need to make a double supply depot. And that a triple supply depot, you don't need to make that many supply depots simply because you're not going to have that many units this early down into the game. I mean, sure, eventually as the game progresses, you're going to want to make maybe 2 supply depots at a time. But right now, this is way too many supply depots. You see here, Walpurga is already at 17 out of 31 supply, and very soon he's going to have even more on his max, which is simply way too many. He's not going to be able to use all this many for a long time, and he could be using all that minerals for maybe more workers or more barracks. And here we see that, oh, I don't have the interface to see what building this is. That's weird. Okay, I guess production. So we have a spawning tool along with a macro hatchery, which is interesting because this early into the game, you can just put your hatchery here for an economical hatchery as well as getting the additional larva spawn. So I don't think it's worth it to be making a macro hatchery this early into the game. Generally, macro hatcheries come once they have 3 bases fully saturated, and you need an additional hatchery simply for the purpose of producing more units. But it's not safe to take a 4th, so you make a macro hatch. But right now, taking this hatchery is perfectly safe. So I would not recommend making a macro hatch at this point in the game. Now, here we have the 6 supply depot wall. I think this is a bit of an overreaction, because simply we see here, what does Zonerkush have? He has 2 Zerglings. Now 2 Zerglings is going to take ages to break even 1 supply depot. Instead, what he could have done is put 1 supply depot here, the barracks here, and this other supply depot here. With only 1 barrack and 2 supply depot, it's going to take ages for these Zerglings to get through, especially with Marines behind it. So I would think that this is not necessary this early into the game. Now, as we can see, both players actually have roughly the same supply, but Walpurga here could have even more supply if he didn't use all of his minerals on supply depots. Okay, here we have Zonerkush taking his natural, and he is getting Zergling speed into roaches. So perhaps there is going to be a Zergling roach push. This type of push is not very meta right now, simply because if you're going to go roaches, it's usually better to just go roach ravengers. Although I have seen some builds where you go with Zergling speed along with roaches, but usually it's not. I don't really see that too much, at least not in Diamond. Alright, so here we see the Zerglings approaching, trying to break the wall. You see, there's a bunch of Zerglings. How many Zerglings was that? I don't even know, but that was a lot of Zerglings, and he couldn't even break just these three walls in the front. So that's what I was saying. You don't need 6 supply depots. All that, and he just lost all of his Zerglings, pretty much. And this wall is barely bruised. So now Walpurga is definitely ahead. He is on 2 bases. He's actually mining on this base, whereas Zonerkush doesn't have any drones here. And we can see in the worker count, Walpurga is definitely ahead in workers. And it's not so much ahead in army though. And that's simply because, as Zerg, you can make armies quite fast, so despite losing all those Zerglings. Zonerkush still has a bigger army supply. But that shouldn't be too much of a problem, because with the better economy that Walpurga has, he should be able to catch up in army supply fairly quickly as soon as his economy kicks in. So he's on 3 barracks right now. Is he getting upgrades? I don't think so. So he could probably use all of his gas, 700 of them, for either upgrades from this engineering bay, or maybe he could even build more barracks or more factory. And now Zonerkush is getting his evolution chamber for upgrades himself. Oh, okay. This base is not rally, so there's a few workers idle here. Zonerkush going on the offensive again with another aggression, with more speedlings, and his roaches are coming from behind. Now, I don't think he has roach speed. I should have taken a better interface. I can't actually see what he has because of this interface. But yeah, he has roach speed. And looks like there's going to be another attempt. But right now, because of... Remember, Walpurga's better economy, you see how earlier Zonerkush had more army, but now Walpurga has almost caught up in army supply. And he still has a lot of minerals to spare. So he's going to try to break this wall again. Nope, all the Zerglings die. And these roaches are not in the optimal position. You see here, we have only these 3 roaches shooting, whereas most of these marines are shooting at the roaches. So this is a really bad fight for Red Zerg here. Only one supply depot lost. Walpurga heavily ahead in supply, and he's also getting the +1 attack upgrade. This base fully saturated, this base pretty much saturated. Our Zerg is quite behind in economy right now, with only 28 workers to Walpurga's 36. Now, if Walpurga just attacks right now, I'm fairly confident he will just win. And we see here that Zonerkush is even getting spine crawlers in self-defense, possibly expecting an attack. So, both players banking up on a bit of minerals, which is not optimal. Double layer. That's interesting. Generally you don't need double layer because you only need 1 layer. And because that's the benefit of Zerg, is that unlike Terran, where if you need to get, like, if you want to go from barracks, from ground units to air units, you have 3 barracks right now, but to get the same amount of air units, you need 3 starports. But no, not for Zerg. All you need for Zerg is just one building, and you can instantly start producing that type of unit from all of your hatcheries and with all of your larvas. So definitely don't need double layer. 1 layer is enough. But we do know that Zonerkush used to play Protoss, and you know they say habits die hard. So we see the 3rd base coming from Zonerkush, and we see a factory here. It's producing Hellions. Now, Hellions are pretty good, but not versus this composition of mainly roaches. Hellions do X bonus damage to light units, but roaches are actually armored units. So the better choice would be to actually go for a tank, which not only does splash damage, but also does bonus damage to armor units and are extremely effective versus roaches. So I would say the Hellion is not really going to do much, but he has a lot of minerals to spare, so it's okay. Now, we see that Zonerkush is getting his base... No, he's not. He hasn't been making any workers, I don't think. He is pretty much on 1.5 base, with only 27 workers, while Walpurga is getting even more ahead in worker counts. So that's why you can see that Walpurga simply has a way higher mineral count than our Zonerkush here. In fact, because Zonerkush is producing so many units, that's the reason he can't produce workers. And if this keeps up and Walpurga doesn't get supply blocked, which he kind of is right now, and he just continuously make units, there is pretty much no way Zonerkush should ever catch up in army supply at this point. Unless he actually starts droning up his third base. And so yeah, we see Zonerkush is preparing for another attack. We still have this wall fully repaired by now. Making some Reapers. Reapers are not really the best choice versus roaches either. But in this number, you see that even that is still doing quite a bit of damage, simply because Walpurga's production, his economy has been so good right now that he can afford all those Reapers. Like, despite Reapers not being the best choice versus all these roaches, if we had equal number of units, equal number of roaches to Reapers to supply count, the Reapers would have absolutely gotten decimated. But because Walpurga has so much more units at this point, like all those Reapers, they were still able to pack quite a punch. So we see here that Zonerkush is going for a Corruptor, Mutalisk, Hydralisk, Roach composition, which is not really the best because they don't really synergize too well when you just mix units like that. Usually, a good composition could be Mutalisk with Zerglings and Banelings, because Mutalisk forces your opponents to make Marines, which Banelings do really well against. Or you could do Roach Hydralisk, simply because Roaches are really tanky, and Hydralisks, well, they die really easily, as you just saw there, but Hydralisks have better range than Roaches, so they can stay at the back and be doing massive damage while the Roaches have the front tank. So that's another possible composition. Or you can just go for the classical Roach Ravager. But when you try to go Jack of all trades, you're really the master of nothing and you don't get much. So we saw that Mutalisk Harass do quite a bit of damage right here to Walpurga's economy. He's actually... Is he down workers? No, actually no, he isn't really down workers. But I think Zonerkush has been droning up. They're almost equal in worker counts now. But right now, Walpurga is still massively ahead in army supply to 62. So if he attacks right now, he should still take this fight pretty convincingly. But we see that Zonerkush here is going for his Mutalisk, Hydralisk, Roach composition. Which, versus this composition of Mass Marines and Hellions, I think it's okay. The Hellions will do a good job against the Hydralisks, but does he have Hydralisk range upgrade? Wait. Crap. Okay. No, he does not have the Hydralisk range upgrade.
Ready to blunder.
And I wish I had the interface, because I don't actually remember the range of unupgraded Hydralisks, but it's not pretty low. And I don't think he has road speed either. So that means his he doesn't have Hydralisk speed either. So his Mutalisk and Zerglings are going to be way ahead of all of his other units if he doesn't try and micro to keep them together, because he lacks the speed upgrade. So be interesting to see how this gets. Oh, there we go. He's researching the range upgrade right now. Alright, so I would say Walpurga, our blue Terran, is playing way too defensively right now, because for the longest time, and even still, Walpurga is ahead in army supply, but he's not moving out. Several chances, I mentioned at least 2 chances where he could just moved out and attack. But I think it doesn't matter, because if Walpurga says macros properly, he could simply max out on 200-200 before Zonerkush does, and that would still be a pretty devastating push. Oh, we see a bit of movement right here. Interestingly enough, Walpurga is trying to go in from the sides. Does he know that? No, he doesn't know. Well then, we'll see how this is gonna go. Gonna meet up. Oh, Mutalisk comes in front, completely gets decimated by mass marines. Hydralisk only reaching now. Roaches stuck at the back, lack of roach speed, does not do their tanking role, and this army completely falls apart. 81-18. This push from Walpurga should absolutely win right now. We also noticed that Zonerkush has not been larva injecting, which doesn't matter, but oh, there's the GG. Alright. Let's game 1. I don't know if they want to go for the same map or a different map. Let me try a different observer interface, because I don't really like that one. Seems like Zonerkush is gonna go for Terran. Oh no, never mind. Okay. Seems like that's the last one. In the best of 5, I suppose. Right now the score, I believe, has been 2-1 in favor of Zonerkush. But that would make it a best of 4. Oh well. Alright, once again. In the... What's this? Seems like someone is bugged. I guess I have to restart. Do we have to? Are we gonna restart? No? Okay. So once again, on the top, in the blue, coming back from his defeat with a very convincing victory last match, it is Walpurga. Down at the bottom, got tired of Protoss and is now playing Zerg. It's our red Zerg, Zonerkush. Let's see, what do we have here? Another spawning pool into macro hatch. And the wall supply depot again. Now, sure, this worked for Walpurga last round, so there's no reason for him to think he needs to change anything. But we already know that this macro hatch did not really work out for our red Zerg, so maybe he would consider getting an earlier second base. As a new player, expanding tends to be pretty scary because you do have to defend multiple areas. But as we can see, the reason you shouldn't be so scared, especially as a Zerg, is because, well, the Terran's not gonna have any units anytime soon. I mean, sure, he will come with a fast Reaper expand, but a single Queen will pretty much take care of the Reaper. In fact, in the current Legacy of the Void meta, a Zerg can pretty much always take this hatch before pool and in his natural without being punished at all, and it will always be worth it. In Heart of the Swarm, it wasn't always the case, but in Legacy of the Void, you can always take hatch before pool, and it's always going to be worth it. Okay, I don't know if I like this interface either, but I think it was definitely better than the last one. Or, I mean, we'll go with it and see if anything else comes up. Okay, one thing that Zonerkush should really be doing with his queen is larva injecting, which he is doing that. Because larva injecting is what really makes Zerg outproduce Terran. Without the larva injects, the Zerg macro is actually a lot worse than all the other races. So because of larva injects, producing 3 extra larvas every, I don't even know how long that is, like 29 seconds. It's a massive production boost that the Zerg can leverage. So we see here another circling attack at the 4-minute mark, but this time it's going to probably be a repeat of last time. We see that our blue Terran Walpurga already has 4 Marines ready, and more is being produced as we speak. These Zerglings will not be able to break this wall. And that's because, you see, they don't really have that much surface area to attack. The Marines can easily pick all of them off before any real damage is done. That is, if he reacts to it. Alright. These 2 supply depot won't even die. Maybe this one will. No, it's not. If he repairs it. If he doesn't repair it, it's gonna die. Anyway. Alright. Oh, that's what I'm missing. We don't have the army supply tab on this observer interface. Damn it. Okay. I will try the other interface after this, if we get another one, for the split one or whatever it is called. So, that Zergling attack wasn't really that good. Wait. Oh, here we go. We can use that. But we see that because of that early aggression that our Red Zerg Zonerkush did, he's really behind in drone count. Because in order to get units out, he has to sacrifice drones, and that's just how Zerg mechanics work. You can't be producing drones and units at the same time, because both drones and units come from larvas. So that's both the plus and the downside for Zerg. As a Zerg, you really don't want to produce too much units. So he's producing a lot of roaches, even Hydralisks, going for that roach Hydra composition this time, I think. Because I see, okay. But still, roach Hydralisk right now, it's a good composition. But this early into the game, with down 10 workers, it's a huge disadvantage for the Zerg, because you see he has all this larva that he can't use because his economy is so down right now that he just doesn't have the minerals to use them. Now the Zerg's advantage is being able to out-macro your opponents by being able to outproduce your opponent, but you can't outproduce your opponent when you don't have the money, and you won't have the money when you don't have the drones. So by producing this many units this early into the game, our Zerg is really sacrificing his economy, and the longer the longer he doesn't produce units, the longer he doesn't produce drones, every push sets him behind more and more, simply because he's not going to have the economy. But right now, we don't have much units from army units from Walpurga, but I think this should still hold pretty well. Yeah, this wall will hold for quite a bit longer. But Ravagers coming. Now Ravagers, with their corrosive bio, will do massive damage to this wall very quickly. Oh, and we see some Mutalisk harass coming. But even so, this worker count, the difference in worker count is just huge. Now, if Walpurga is spending all of his minerals, he should pretty much be almost doubling the amount of army that Zonerkush has right now. But Walpurga is banking up on some minerals, which is not really that good. So these Ravagers should be able to tear down these walls really quickly with their corrosive bio if it is used. Don't let your Marines die. Put them in the bunker. No. Alright. He killed his own SCV. Yeah, I think this is definitely a win for Zonerkush here, because Walpurga is banking up on way too much minerals. You see, 3k minerals. That could be like another... How much is a Marine? 58 minerals? Could be another 60 Marines. GG. But, Walpurga was bugged early into the game, so I think that definitely set him behind a bit, but nonetheless. Now, it's not that he was too greedy with his economy, because he actually had a lot of minerals. He could have used all of his minerals to build army, and still had the economy going, and that's the main problem right now. Let's see, why is... Let's do schoolwork tomorrow. And we see feedback that Zerg is doing better for Keith right now than Protoss. So that's very good. It's always nice to find the stuff you like to play. Okay, so we're going to go into 33 instead, so I'm going to be ending this stream. Thank you for watching, and good luck on